Hello and welcome to another edition of the Glorious Wrestling Podcast. Today we will be discussing the top 10 current WWE superstars. My name is Nick Negropontis and I'm joined by Dan Panopoulos, who's going to explain to you the categories and scoring we use to determine how we will come up with these rankings.
Yes, hello everyone. Nice to be here again with you today, Nick. So pretty much our rankings are out of 60, and we've decided to come up with these rankings as they give us more of a scientific way of analysing who the best wrestlers or sports entertainers are on the roster. So I'll go through a couple of categories just to introduce you all. There's ability, and we've given that out of 15 because that's probably the most important. Ability is to do with wrestling, ability is to do, but it's also, the way you can structure a match and that sort of thing. So, the quality wrestlers will be obviously up there, and that's for us to decide. We haven't seen each other's rankings. We don't know what we've given each person. I thought I was a little bit harsher at first, but, we'll see how we go there. Promo out of 10. So that's pretty straightforward. The ability to cut a promo and to engage the audience, which is an important part of sports entertainment and obviously makes us want to watch the people even more. There's drawing out of 10. So that takes into account, I guess, a little bit of promo as well. Just the person's ability to draw a crowd or draw emotions from the crowd.
And to invest the crowd.
Yeah. So that's taking a couple of things into account. And then we've got gimmick out of 10 as well. So that's their current gimmick, how they're performing in it, how we feel they're going in it. And Nick will take over for the last couple of...
Yep. So basically, our idea here was just to rank categories by their importance. And obviously, wrestling ability out of 15 is the most important. Then we had the ones that Dan talked about, promo, gimmick, and drawing out of 10. And then we had a few smaller categories like acting out of 5, because it's obviously still an important part of WWE. Charisma out of 5, another thing that is still you need to have to be a WWE superstar. Not as much as wrestling ability, but still a vital thing. And diversity, which we meant by that the ability to work with anyone. So, for example, the Big Show isn't as diverse as someone like AJ Styles, if you know what I mean by that. He can't work in the ring with the same people, like AJ Styles putting on a great match with James Ellsworth.
Yeah, you can't put on a great match with these people.
And diversity also we're taking into account their ability to help the company outside of the ring, like outside of the day-to-day shows. People like, maybe Titus O'Neil being able to be an ambassador for something, or The Miz doing every media appearance ever. So there are categories. I'll go through them quickly one more time. Wrestling out of 15, promo out of 10, gimmick out of 10, drawing out of 10, acting out of 5, charisma out of 5, and diversity out of 5, for a total maximum score of 60. Now, very few, I'm pretty sure you'll have this as well, Dan, because I know from what I went through, very few people scored perfect scores in categories. I think I only had one wrestler score a perfect score in wrestling, and I think only 2 or 3 in promo and gimmick. It's hard to find perfect scores. I think for the lower ones, for the out of 5, there are a few. But for the bigger ones, it's rare that you'll find someone get a perfect score.
Yeah, just had a couple here and there that got them, yep.
Aside from Ty Dillinger, who got a perfect 10 in all categories, including the ones out of 5.
Yep. No, he was 100 out of 60, which is quite obvious, really.
Okay, so we're going to get straight into our top 10s here, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to discuss our top 10 wrestlers currently on the WWE roster. Afterwards, we'll be going through our bottom 5s and then just generally discussing some of these scores. So let's start with your number 10, Dan.
So I have equal 10.
Yeah.
How do we want? We'll say
I guess
both of them?
I guess it comes down to your opinion then, if you have equal ones.
I can't split them. Can I just say both of them? They're both 50 out of 60.
Yeah.
So they're obviously quality. And, I mean, obviously here my rankings are in alphabetical order, but I can't really split them. My number 10 is equal Bayley and Sasha Banks.
Wow, equal.
Yes.
That's high.
They're equal. Their wrestling ability, their ability, their gimmick, ability to cut a promo. I just thought that their quality overall, I gave them probably the worst one was 3.5 out of 5 for acting.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just, believability and that sort of thing sometimes is lacking.
Yeah.
And that can be to do with just chemistry in the ring or, losing feel with the crowd, inability to hear with the crowd. But Sasha got 13.5 out of 15 for wrestling.
Yeah, fair enough. I gave her a 13 for that, by the way.
Yeah, and charisma 4.5. I had Bayley 9.5 for her gimmick.
Yeah, I had her a 9. I think she was my equal highest for gimmick, yeah.
And I had Sasha with an 8.
Yeah.
I had her a bit lower, only because I don't know if the gimmick suits her as a face.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Sasha is unquestionably better as a tweener or a heel.
Yeah.
But Gimmick was a hard one for me. I'm not sure about you. I only gave two wrestlers a score of 9 or higher. In fact, I didn't give a score higher than 9, and Bailey was one of the two that I did give a 9 to.
Okay, I've got two 9.5s and a couple of 9s.
So I'll go with my number 10 now, and mine was an undisputed number 9. Before I say that though, he scored 49.5, but I had a total of 9 wrestlers on scores of 48.5 or 48. So it was very close between number 10 and number 20. You could barely split them.
I just nodded for all those at home that haven't got the live video feed that will get like Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yes, you actually need to speak in a podcast, by the way. Anyway, so coming in at number 10 for me is Finn Balor.
Okay.
Now, we actually, full disclosure here, we had a version of this out of 50 before we added Gimmick. And in that, I had Finn Balor in the mid-20s, which is very low for Finn Balor, considering how good he is. But then I added Gimmick, and he leapfrogged and jumped up to 10th spot.
This is very different to what I have, but
yeah,
continue with you.
So I have Finn Balor at 10. I gave him a 13.5 for wrestling ability, because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. That's fair enough. I had him only as a 6.5 for promos. I think that might have even been a bit generous. He's quite average there.
I had him as a 5.
Well, there you go.
I just don't get it with him. I can't buy into what he says.
No, I totally agree. I gave him an 8.5 for Gimmick. That's where he made up a lot of the points. Only a 3 for acting. Drawing an 8.5. I gave him full marks for charisma, because I think when he goes into that demon character, I think...
And that's our big difference, because
what
I have
you gave
2.5.
2.5, really? Okay.
I just don't think all that... I don't count his demon gimmick as charisma. I can't give that to him, only because when you mainly see him, he's his normal self, and there he's not really charismatic.
Yep,
so he's your number 10.
Yep.
And on a lot of official rankings of wrestlers and stuff, he does rank highly, you know.
Yep.
But that's purely wrestling ability, whereas we're giving it a well-rounded sports entertainment.
So this is
pro
more
wrestling.
This is more sports entertainment than pro wrestling. Like you'll see someone like Neville, who won't be in. If he was a pure wrestling list, he's in any top 10 in the world. But he's not in our top 10s. I assume he's not in your top 10.
He's not.
So I'll go with my number 9.
Yep.
I've actually got a draw for number 9. I've actually got a draw for every other number except for number 10. So number 9, I personalized it and ordered it as Shinsuke Nakamura coming in at number 9.
Okay.
Another little thing that we discovered was before we added the gimmick category that this was very biased against international wrestlers, especially guys like Shinsuke, Hideo, Asuka, Andrade Cien Almas, who don't speak English, so they get very low scores for promos. So that's just one thing we needed to add the gimmick factor, just because to make up for these guys like Shinsuke who are getting unfairly, scored down simply because they don't have the English ability. But Shinsuke, he's in any top 10 in the world, especially even in the WWE, where he's just joined them. He's the NXT champion. I gave him a 13.5 for wrestling. I think he probably should be higher, but I think he's still adjusting to the WWE style and, selling injuries and things like that. I gave him a 4.5 for promos, because if you watch NXT this week, I know that's probably a bit lenient considering he doesn't speak English, but just his facial expressions and things, his ability to deliver the promo.
I have him higher than that.
Really? Okay, still there, fair enough. I gave him a 9 for gimmick. He was the only other guy who I gave a 9 to, outside of Bailey. And I gave him an 8.5 for drawing, which I think will only go up once he hits the main roster.
I have him a 10.
10, fair enough.
How's that for just his ability to draw the crowd? The name alone gets people in seats.
Fair enough. I only gave one wrestler a drawing out of 10, and that was Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
And he's not in my top 10.
No, I have to keep scrolling down to find Brock Lesnar on mine.
Yeah, we'll discuss him afterwards in our when we're going into the rest of the categories.
Yep, so 9, again, was a tie. 8 and 9 were ties, so I'll just go with who I think at the moment, and my number 9 is Chris Jericho.
Fair enough.
And that's purely his promos and his acting, like, they've been amazing. And, he's been the star of the company.
Yep.
He's taken over from Kevin Owens as the star. Kevin Owens has taken a backseat to Chris Jericho, and who would have thought that 3 months ago?
Yeah, I was going to ask, would you have had Chris Jericho in your top 10 when he returned, say, in January?
No, but then his wrestling is okay, but his ability to put on matches is pretty good. So that's why I gave him a 12.5 for wrestling.
Yeah.
Because of his ability to do that. Diversity, I changed it just before because we clearly defined. I've given him a 4.5 for diversity, and that's because he puts on good matches, but his worth to the company is far beyond what he does in the ring. Like his promos and stuff, you have to take it all into account. So that's important. I also had 4.5 for acting. You know, his acting has been great. And at the moment, he's got an 8 out of 10 for me for his gimmick.
Yeah.
You know, he's entertaining. He's a great heel. You can tell he's going to turn face anytime. You know, that he's doing that 20 thing. He's getting people chanting the most ridiculous things.
Sparkle crotch.
He's unbelievable. So he's my number 9. You had yours.
So my number 8 is Sasha Banks, who I had on 49.5 points, the same as Shinsuke Nakamura. 1 point clear of Finn Balor in 10th on 48.5. So I'll just go through Sasha quickly because you've already spoken about her. I gave her wrestling ability a 13. I think her strongest point from what I have here, her strongest category was drawing. I think she's probably the highest drawing female superstar WWE has ever had. And I think that's only going to continue. We see she's probably going to either main event Hell in a Cell, or either way she's on the poster. She's in a high-profile match.
Yeah.
And she'll be in one of the main events of WrestleMania, probably alongside Bayley. So I think Sasha is undisputedly in the top 10. As you said, sometimes she struggles with a bit of believability and sometimes in her promos. But I think once she turns heel, that'll go away and she'll turn into the real main eventer that she's meant to be.
And she'll go right up the rankings as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
My number 8, also on 50.5 out of 60. I didn't mention that for Jericho, but they're both 50.5. And this is no slight on him. Number 8, I think, is too low, but it's Seth Rollins.
Oh, okay.
I've got him at number 8. He's great in every category. He's like consistent all across the board.
Yeah.
13.5 for wrestling ability. You got 8 out of 10 for promo, 9 out of 10 for drawing. I have 7 out of 10 for gimmick, and I only think that's because it's the start of his new gimmick.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he's a man on a mission and that sort of thing. And I think that can go up to an 8 pretty soon, 8.5 even, if he keeps going with it. But he's outstanding overall. You just want to see him sort of improve on the mic as a face.
Yep.
As a heel, you know, it's a bit easier to be on the mic and that sort of thing. So I want to see a little bit of improvement there. But I had him as my number 8, which is a bit surprising when I crunched all the numbers at the end.
Yeah, I think the gimmick obviously has hurt him there because I think you'll have the same issue as me. Between my wrestler in second position and my wrestler in 8th position is 0.5. There is 0.5 of a difference between my wrestler in number 2 and my wrestler in number 8.
Wow, that's...
So it is very, very even. So any little thing can drop a wrestler right off. And I'll go to my number 7 now, which is Chris Jericho. Obviously, again, I won't speak too much about him because you've just gone into it. But,
apologies for that.
You're just ruining all my picks. Anyway, so obviously his gimmick has been incredible since his feud with Ambrose ended. He's just gone to another level. I only gave him an 11 for wrestling, simply because I think he's lost a step. But we've seen with his matches with Seth over the last couple of weeks that he's still got it. So there's nothing wrong with the score of 11. That's still a B grade
it's not bad.
Performance, especially for someone of his age. And before you steal my thunder, I'll go into my number 6, just to keep the thing moving.
All right, I'll give you my 6 and 7 after that.
Actually, no, sorry, you haven't given you a 7 yet. Sorry, apologies. I'm getting ahead of myself.
I'll do my 7 and 6 then afterwards, okay? My 7 is Samoa Joe.
Yep.
You know, he's not NXT worthy. Like he'd be a main eventer on the main roster.
Yeah.
But he's just fantastic, especially as a heel. You know, you know what you're going to get from him. I probably undersold him a bit with the ability, as I've just checked now. 12.5 out of 15 for his wrestling.
Only. No, I don't disagree with that necessarily. His matches with Balor weren't necessarily great.
Yeah, I think he's really good. His gimmick is 8 out of 10. What else has he got? His promos are outstanding. He speaks with such passion and like ferocity when he's angry towards the camera and that sort of thing. And he's equally as good as a face.
I don't think he's equally as good as a face.
I think
I thought his NXT face run was really underwhelming.
His TNA, I saw basically a little bit on TNA. I liked his TNA. I'll go to my number 6.
No, you're going to steal it.
I'm not going to steal it because it's Shinsuke Nakamura,
okay,
which you've already covered. So I know what I'm doing here, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a first.
I'm the pilot.
Get to your damn number.
Anyway, so I won't cover him too much. Drawing 10 out of 10 for Shinsuke Nakamura. He's a 52.5 out of 60 for me.
Wow, that's actually higher than my number 1.
That's amazing because my number 1 is quite high then. So Nakamura, that's the main thing. 10 out of 10 for drawing. I had him 6.5 out for promos.
Yeah.
And only because I think even though his English isn't great, he's improving, but he still connects with the audience.
He does.
The audience listens to what he has to say, and he's entertaining. Even the facial expressions, just everything about him is entertaining. I gave him a 13 for wrestling ability, agreeing with you that he'll continue to improve. But yes, so 52.5 out of 60.
Which is, again, higher than the wrestler I have in number 1.
So you were the harsh one.
I was the harsh one in the end. So I'll give my 6 and 5 now. So coming in at number 6 for me is someone who we both agreed was overpowered in every category, and that's The Miz. I think, The Miz is finally getting a chance to show how good of a wrestler he is. He's not, a standout performer. I only gave him 11.5, but that's still enough to hold his own in the main event categories. Across the board in everything else, he virtually got perfect scores. There's no real point even going through it. I gave him a 10 for promos. He's one of only 3 wrestlers I gave a 10 in promos to. I gave him an 8.5 for gimmick because I think the moneymaker thing is working really well for him. I gave him a 5 for acting, obviously, because, he's an actor. Across the board there, I gave him a 5 for diversity because he does everything the company asks him to do. So I gave him a total score of 50.5 along with the guy above him and Chris Jericho. So, for me, The Miz is just great in every category. I'll go to my next one now just because it's Samoa Joe. We discussed him quite a bit, so I won't go into him in too much detail, but I actually had Joe in my top 3 for a little bit before I redid my rankings. As you said, he's just great in every category. I only gave him a 12 for wrestling ability just because I think he hasn't really delivered a stellar match since coming to the WWE outside of a match with Sami Zayn, and Zayn could have a great match with Braun Strowman, which he probably will. So I won't talk about Joe much just because, you've already discussed him. So I have Joe at number 5.
So after looking through our numbers, we're both up to our top 4 now, just after rearranging. No one made a mistake here. Sorry about that. Yes, my number 4 is equal with my number 3, but I'll rank him at 4 for the sake of this, and it was The Miz.
Yep.
And he gets a 53 out of 60.
So overpowered.
Yeah, I know. 12 for wrestling ability. I had 12. 10 out of 10 for promo.
Of course.
5 out of 5 charisma, 5 out of 5 acting, 9.5 gimmick.
Yeah, that's high.
So he was the equal highest with Bailey.
His gimmick is perfect for him. It is absolutely perfect.
So, he could have arguably got 10 out of 10, only because you're looking at that. Yeah. If it's perfect for the person. Obviously, the downfall is his in-ring ability, and I still think drawing. I gave him 7.5.
I gave him a 7 for drawing. Yeah, okay, I missed that category. Yep.
So that sort of thing. But I mean, you've covered him, but he got 53 out of 60 for me.
Jesus.
Who's 4th for you?
Number 4 for me. So I've got a top 4 that is very, very even. So in 4th position for me, I have a wrestler on 51 points. And in 2nd position, I have a wrestler on 51 points. So my 2, 3, and 4 are all on the same score.
Amazing. I've got, my top 3 are all separate. So
so this was obviously very hard to split. You could almost say these 3 are equal 2nd. I've got Kevin Owens in 4th spot.
Okay.
Because, he's as good as anyone else on the WWE roster. He's an absolute star. I gave him a 13 for wrestling ability. I gave him a 9 for promos. I probably could have given him a 10 there, but I just wanted to make the 10 feel a little bit more special. I gave him a 7.5 for gimmick because I don't think there's that much to his gimmick, other than the fact that he's just a cocky heel. I gave him a 4.5 for acting because he's great in that category. An 8 for drawing because, he's a heel, so heels don't necessarily draw well. So you got to look at it that way. But at the same time, he's the WWE Universal Champion, and that boosts him. Otherwise, I probably would have given him a lower score for drawing. Across the board, charisma, diversity, I gave him perfect scores there because he's Kevin Owens, and he is the one who runs the show.
Nicely done. Number 3 for me, so he was equal with The Miz, just below number 2, but so 53 out of 60 as well, is the WWE World Champion AJ Styles.
Yep.
Perfect 15 for wrestling.
Yep, he was the only wrestler I gave perfect 15.
Perfect 15, perfect 5 for diversity, 9.5 for drawing. I have him as 7.5 for promo, only because he's still,
No, I agree.
He's never been fantastic on the mic. Much improved, doing really well, but still think he's lacking something there.
Yeah.
Charisma 4. It's an awkward sort of charisma
that
he has, and he's the phenomenal one. He's the champ that runs the camp, the face that runs the place, and he's 3rd on my rankings.
Yep, fair enough. That's, AJ Styles was always going to be in our top 3. I think that was unquestioned. My number 3 is Seth Rollins. I think we've already gone through him quite a bit. He's just turned babyface, so there's still a lot to work with there. I gave him a 14 for wrestling ability, 8.5 for promos. It's amazing because when he started with the Shield and when he just separated with him, you probably give him a 6.5 for promos. He's improved out of this world in every category. I think he's the best all-round superstar in the WWE. So yeah, for me, Seth Rollins comes in at number 3, and again 51. So I've got 3 wrestlers tied in this position.
We're up to the top 2, the all-important top 2, and it's one you've already covered. 53.5
Yep.
out of 60 for me is Kevin Owens.
Yep, fair enough.
I had similar to you. I had 9 for drawing and 9 for promo, 13.5 for wrestling.
Yep.
I just think, he's a fantastic wrestler. Perfect for diversity and near perfect for charisma. He's the man.
Yep.
He's fantastic.
I think this means we both have the same person at number 1, and I don't think that's an issue.
No, you're number 2.
My number 2 is AJ Styles. Yeah. I mean, is there any really doubt there? I gave him a perfect 15 for wrestling. And basically, I think I gave him a pretty similar score to you. I only gave him a 3.5 for acting. But I gave him a 9 for drawing, 5 for diversity, 4 for charisma. Like, he's stepped right in. He's probably the best wrestler in the world and just stepped in and has become the biggest thing in the WWE. And number 1, sure, you can go with it. We have the same number 1, which I'm quite disappointed with.
It's the most obvious, but would you believe he's a clear number 1?
Yeah,
When I say clear, 57.
Okay, I gave him 52, but he's also clear when I have everyone else is almost equal.
57 out of 60. That's like, I couldn't believe that I gave him 57 out of 60, which is 3.5 clear of Kevin Owens.
Wow.
It's obviously John Cena.
Yep.
And he had perfect in everything except for gimmick, which is 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
I gave him, and 13 out of 15 for wrestling.
Okay.
And everything else was perfect. Diversity, promo, drawing, acting, charisma, all perfect.
Yep, I gave him... I was pretty similar. I gave him a perfect for promo, and I gave him perfect for acting. I gave him a 9 out of 10 for drawing, just because I still think there's that section of the crowd that does not want to pay to see him. I gave him a 13.5 for wrestling, because he's the most underrated wrestler on the roster, John Cena. Actually, maybe not at this point. I think people are starting to give him the credit he deserves. I only gave him a 6 for gimmick, simply because it's the same gimmick since 2006. So I took points off for that. And I only gave him a 3.5 for diversity, just because I still think he's great in the ring, and he can do everything for the company. But I still think that there's certain people that you put Cena in there with someone who's worse than him, and the match isn't stellar. So that's why I took marks off him there. But he's still, even with that, the clear number 1 for me.
Yep.
And for you.
Yep. So that's our top 10.
That's our top 10. Easy as that. So we'll leave it there. We'll put out another video for our bottom 5 and our general discussion of these rankings. So thank you for listening. If you have your own top 10, send them through to us at GloriousWP on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Negropontis, spelled phonetically, of course.
And I am at DemP_9.
And yeah, you can follow him if you want, but don't. Anyway, so now we're going to be getting into our bottom 5, so you can tune in soon to that.